My name's James Gordon. I'm a counselling psychologist and existential psychotherapist. Like many of us, my colleagues in psychotherapy and counselling psychology, there's an interesting backstory and a complicated one as well. It meant that a lot of my youth was spent surrounded by mental health and mental ill health, and it gave me a fondness for rebels, oddballs, dropouts, that sort of thing. My specialisms are working with anxiety, trauma and bereavement, and people dealing with illness and disability. I've spent a good 7 years in the NHS working in those particular services. But I have found that, generally speaking, my strength and my focus is on allowing people to speak about themselves in a different way. A way which perhaps reflects the poetic nature of life and the self, rather than to think about yourself in prose or in literal sort of terms. I think the important thing is to help a new client get into a way of approach, a manner of approach to their internal world. We think that we know ourselves. And I don't want to criticize anyone's idea of themselves, but it's a story. It's a story that's been assembled out of ingredients that have been given to you by others, by your family, by the place that you grew up in, your school, and the ideas that are out there in the public sphere. But that's not you. You are you, and you're right there. And you are unique, a unique center of understanding and perception in the universe. Now often this you isn't particularly well known or understood. Yes, you've been there, but we often use some of these lying around meanings and take them for us, just fit them on. What I try to do in my work is to help you to perhaps unstitch yourself from some of those meanings and make contact with a world that might be a bit harder to understand to begin with, a bit weird, a bit strange. It's my job to hold fast and be there for you whilst you take that journey, that voyage, to maybe understand the poetry and pathos that is you, rather than the sort of literal or second-hand ideas that we use to understand ourselves. We can't understand ourselves on our own. It's like an eye trying to look at itself. We need some medium to be able to pull ourselves out of ourselves. I try to create a space where you're able to be honest without being coherent, perhaps experimental in a respectful space where you can try to build a bridge to that vital and vulnerable self that is you. And it's so often buried over with these meanings that are picked up. There's a whole world there that might feel strange, and your complaints and your symptoms, if you want to call them that, are these invisible meanings trying to assert themselves, and so it's good to take them seriously. Ultimately, I'm trying to build up your capacity for observing yourself in a non-judgmental manner, to realize that you are a mystery and uncompleted, unfinished, and always becoming something. And the best way to approach that is to be able to be compassionate and kind and curious about what emerges as we go through life's difficulties and uncertainties.